In 76 episodes, BoJack Horseman deals with depression, drug abuse, unhappy marriages, adultery, suicide, and a mountain of other controversial topics. And I think the show thrives off of that because of two main factors: the fantastic writing and the animation. That second one might not make total sense, but before I explain, let me list a few things that happen throughout the show out of context. The main character's former best friend dies of cancer and refuses to give him closure. One of the main character's friends dies from an overdose on drugs that the main character gave her. The main character breaks into his old house, takes a bunch of drugs, and nearly drowns in a pool. Then he spends the next episode in purgatory. And finally, the main character gets caught about to have sex with a 17-year-old girl. Those are all pretty bad. Taken out of context, they sound more like news headlines than plot points of a television show. But BoJack Horseman manages to pull it off, and again, part of the reason that it does is because of the fact that it's animated. When a film or show is animated, there is this disassociation with real life, because no matter how serious that subject matter might be, each of them is being played out by a talking horse. Throughout the show, each time one of these things comes up, it'll either involve just animals or one animal and one human. Because of the fact that they're animals, the severity of what just happened to them, it doesn't really click. It's the same thing in real life. If you hit a deer with your car, you'll get out and make sure the car's okay. If you hit a person, you ditch the car and flee the country. Plain and simple, animals just aren't valued as much as humans are. So when Secretariat kills himself, it's messed up, but at the end of the day, it's still a talking horse. If this had been played out in real life by a real actor, then this scene would be way more messed up than it already is. That being said, when dealing with subject matter like the one the show deals with, there is a very thin line between compelling and ridiculous. And BoJack Horseman perfectly walks that line like a gymnast on a tightrope. And the great thing about the show's writing is that whenever it does go over the line into the area of ridiculous and overly dramatic, it's always played for a joke, which is another great thing about the writing. The comedy of the show actually props up the drama, because every character is cracking jokes every couple of seconds. So whenever the rapid fire jokes suddenly stop, then the tone shifts to a much more serious one, adding weight to the already tense scene. But that weight never overstays its welcome. It strikes whenever it's most effective and stays for just as long as it should. So, what would happen if BoJack Horseman was live action, set in a high school, overly dramatic from start to finish, had awful characters, and even worse dialogue? Well, that's how you get 13 Reasons Why.
I'm not a virgin anymore.
Boy, this show is a great big fucking mess if I have ever seen one. Although I'm not so much talking about the first season, but more so the second, third, and especially the fourth. While I don't think the first season is great or anything like that, it is the most comprehensible of any of them. So before we get into the meat of why exactly 13 Reasons Why flopped so fucking hard, let's do what we did for BoJack. I'm going to list a few things that happen throughout the show out of context. The main character learns there's going to be a school shooting and goes right up to him and tries to talk him down. Then, the main character goes to the effort of covering up this crime. The show later redeems this man who is going to murder everyone. The show spends the entirety of its third season trying to redeem a serial rapist. The main characters actively cover up this murder and pin it on another character, and the show treats this like it's the morally right thing to do. And finally, the main character commits several more crimes than the one I've already mentioned, and he is never met with any consequences whatsoever for these actions. As I'm sure you can clearly tell, there are some stark differences between these two lists. With this list, the bullet points read like news headlines. This one looks more like the premises of some shitty SNL skits. Remember earlier how I mentioned BoJack walks a fine line between compelling and ridiculous? Well, that doesn't really matter for 13 Reasons Why, because they leap right over the line and dive straight into ridiculous. All 4 seasons take place over the course of Clay's junior and senior years of high school. So, at the most, all of the shit and everything else I didn't mention takes place over 2 calendar years. Not only is that downright ridiculous, it is completely and utterly implausible. This school would be shut down and under investigation immediately if there were this many murders, sexual assaults, and just crimes within 2 years in one high school. 13 Reasons Why is more fanatical than a Disney movie. I'm surprised they even included gravity. They break so many fucking laws in the show, they might as well go for the laws of physics while they're at it.
Is this actually what high school in America is like? I'm from England and I'm genuinely curious.
Safer now? Huh? I've got your gun! I've got your gun! Am I safer?
Yes.
Season 3 and 4 of the show are set during Clay's senior year of high school. Think of everything that happened during that year. Now, let me ask you, what is the craziest thing that happened during your senior year of high school? Because I live in a state where you can bring a big ass .44 caliber revolver strapped to your hip into a Kroger's like it's the Wild Wild fucking West, and the craziest thing that happened during my senior year was someone shit their pants during prom. Not only is this show just plain awful from a storytelling perspective, it is flat out dangerous. In April of 2017, the month the first season was released on Netflix, the youth suicide rate went up by over 25% in the United States. In all seriousness, 13 Reasons Why literally killed a portion of its audience. But for some reason, Netflix renewed it for another 3 seasons. But I guess that's not saying much anymore. Going back to this show's merits as a story, let's go back and look at our list. Let's go a bit deeper on this last one here. Throughout the show, the main cast of characters, if they're not the antagonists, they are free from any and all consequences. In BoJack Horseman, consequences are a huge part of the show, and they, for the most part, all center around BoJack. Whenever BoJack gave Sarah Lynn the drugs, he paid the price with Sarah Lynn's death. Or more accurately, she paid the price for his choices. That's the thing about BoJack. There are consequences, but rarely is he the one that's paying for them. Every choice, every decision, every single wrong move that he makes, the people around him suffer. BoJack gets addicted to painkillers, and as a result, he strangles Gina. BoJack tells Sarah Lynn the way he views things and says that nobody will ever really love her. As a result, she ends up just like him. Time and time again, BoJack negatively affects the people around him. He is a cancer to his friends, and he knows it. In a way, BoJack's hatred of himself is justified. This is all very serious, and the show treats it that way. And so does 13 Reasons Why. It treats all of the subject matter it tries to deal with a absolute seriousness. But the tone doesn't matter if what the characters say and do are absolutely unbelievable. This video, in of itself, is a sin for just comparing these two. BoJack is one of the best television shows I have ever seen. It easily lands in my top 10. The way it portrays characters and relationships is amazing and feels unbelievably real despite the animation and most of the characters being animals. BoJack Horseman is an amazing show, and 13 Reasons Why is a morally bankrupt piece of shit. There are many lessons that BoJack Horseman can teach its viewers. Too much drugs and alcohol can make your life suck. Don't hang yourself while you jerk off. Don't be an asshole to your friends. But most importantly, your actions have consequences, and they will affect others besides yourself. And while yes, this may be a pretty simplistic theme, it delivers it in a complex and compelling way. But 13 Reasons Why spits on that. Consequences are a foreign concept in this fantasy realm. It's amazing that the show about talking cartoon animals is the more realistic of these two. 13 Reasons Why is a cancer that glorified suicide and depression and is one of the worst shows I've ever subjected myself to. And there is a very real possibility that some people may still be alive if it had never been made. Fuck this show.